all of my porn viewing is out of the picture, so it should be
but I
good.
am out at in an hour. I
Wait, was
have
that a
no
midget?
choice.
Yep. So here we go. And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because sometimes the stuff that makes you angry is the stuff that's going to make you laugh too. And not necessarily in a fun way. The being angry part. Laughing is always good. Unless it's that cackle laugh and your name is well, associated with Star Wars, but we talk about that later. Part of this is to follow through with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble, and you can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. That's Shujin. Hi, good to be back with you. No, it is not going to be just me tonight because I've had a little bit of concern voiced my way about that one. From the Midwest of the U.S., at least for the first hour or so, Bridget Fitch gets to make it. Hi.
Hey, and I just have to do a mini rant for just a second. I am a Farker at fark.com. Have been a Farker since like 2007 because Will Wheaton sent me. And somebody else made a Bridget Fitch handle.
Well, damn it.
Damn.
Well, you could do like what I did with Twitter back along the day. Even though there wasn't already a Shujin Tribble, I make sure that the handle says the Shujin Tribble, so you could be the Bridget Fitch.
Well, it's too late to try change my Fark handle now because I've had it for so long, and the username won't check out, and then I'll get flamed on the forums.
Well, fine.
But I had never seen Bridget Fitch around and saw a random post in the forum, and I'm like, what the hell?
And on the right coast of the U.S., Unrenowned Tech, you made it. Hi. Good morning.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's morning. I am not high.
Well, that's good because now it's no longer high day.
Right.
At least for us over here on the East Coast, it's kind of the way that works.
It still is for me.
It still is for you.
I didn't really want to go out in the public today.
Yeah,
I don't react well to that stuff, and the last thing I need is like everybody having like vapor trails around me, and because more people do it than people think, and it's just one of those things. Like, look, some people have a bad reaction to that stuff. You really don't want me around when you're doing that stuff. If you're that high, what are you doing out in public? Come on, like just like go get your munchies the day before and stay home. Please stay off the roads, stay out of the grocery stores, just stay home.
yeah.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep. So, it's good to be back with you guys. And of course, as always, if you'd like to be joining us as we're recording, take a swing over to YouTube and join us on the weekends. You know, when we do it, there will be a notable exception coming up next month. I'll tell you about that a little bit later. And of course, you can always be part of the chat system over there. So, Stephanie, good morning. Good to have you over there. Io made it, and yeah, commenting on the topic for today, which is exactly right. You know, doing the Dory thing. Just keep digging. Just keep digging. Yeah, that's pretty much where it's going to be.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
Yeah.
Swimming. Swimming.
Yeah, it's
Swimming.
It's going to be fun.
Sorry, I really like Dory.
It's perfectly reasonable. Anyhow, so as far as next month, just to kind of get it out of the way, the 22nd of May, although I don't like using the term in English, it's about the only word that works for it, even though it doesn't feel right. The 22nd of May is the anniversary, bad word for it again, of the day that my wife passed, which means that this year it's going to be 19 years. It is still yesterday for me. Now, some people are going to go ahead and kind of worry about whatever levels of grief I still have, and I do. I will admit it. These guys have seen it many a time. As much as I try to hide it while I'm doing the show, because I've got this thing in my head where I'm supposed to be the responsible one, supposed to be the level-headed one, and I am neither responsible all the time nor am I level-headed. Fortunately, I've never had a anvil dropped on my head. On my hand, yeah, but then again, it's a little anvil, fix 5-6 pounds or so.
Now I have Let the Anvils Ring by the Animaniacs playing in my head.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. If you ask, maybe later, might be able to find that little anvil, but that's a whole other thing for later. I just wanted to take the moment now because reasons. For any and all of you that still have to go through the kinds of things that I do, you are still visible to us. We still respect you. We still adore you for going through and making it day to day. It ain't always easy. And if you'll pardon the expression, God knows I understand that more than almost anyone. But we will still be here for you. And if you need, take a swing over to our Discord, send out an @here in the general, and just say, hey, I need somebody because I need somebody. We can't promise to be staffing it 24/7, but you can be damn sure one of us will at least get to you as soon as we can and see what we can do to help you out. Who knows? Maybe it's just a matter that you just need somebody to listen to you. So we'll be there. It's what community is for, right? No, that one wasn't that one wasn't rhetorical. I mean, help me out here. Yes.
That is what community is all about, and we are a community, no matter how big or small.
Yeah. For what it's worth, kind of sideways to that. I still consistently listen to Cognitive Dissonance, Scathing Atheist, because they're two of the guys that I still feel somewhat of a connection for. That way, there are a number of other podcasts that have fallen by the wayside for me, and it just doesn't work. And even though we've been doing this for a long time, and we don't exactly have a large follower count, I know that for a fact. It's hard for me not to feel a certain sense of competition, but at the same time, there's also the fatalist aspect of, well, we are where we are, and, well, what are you going to do? So you come down, you're with us, you listen to us, you watch us. You're valued. Just thank you. All right, just thank you. Really appreciate it. So I was giving me shit. Large, dedicated. Committed is another term for it.
Mm-hmm.
With all the implications that any variation on that could give you. So we'll take that. We'll take that. So just thank you. How about we get things going because, we've kind of running behind the clock just a little bit. So let me get that started. With 5 minutes on the clock, I got you over here. Your 5-minute freestyle starts now. Grinding. We've used the expression many a time before. The wheels of justice grind slowly, but grind away they do. Well, damn. It's finally happening. Over here in New York City, in New York State, in New York County, things are finally progressing with the former guy. I have had a really, really hard time staying away from a lot of this stuff because it's gotten to the point where for me, it's a slog It really is. And there's so many of us who basically feel the same way. Here it is. This is the thing that absolutely torpedoes all of his political capital, and here's the next thing that's going to be the absolute nail in the coffin, and it just over and over and over and over. And it's like, guys, we're don't keep saying this, because all you're doing is you're trying to get blood from a stone. And in this case, it's far and away more the attention blood from those of us that have just been so jaded, cynical for the whole damn thing. We know it's supposed to happen a certain way. We know full well that the expressions that we've been fed to us about how justice is blind, justice comes for us all, bless that one, that no one is above the law. Yeah, unfortunately, the cynical ones of us who have seen this stuff over the decades have seen that that's a lot of lip service, unfortunately, in a lot of cases. And it sucks, because it's not supposed to be that way. We know it's not supposed to be that way. But it still seems to be. And the biggest problem of the whole damn thing is that there is an imbalance in the justice system. Now, we could talk about the machinations of the justice system itself, of, who's being directed to how and who's doing whatever, or who's being told intentionally don't do. But the problem becomes when there is an imbalance of power. That dynamic is not one that can be overstated. The people who are most in need of public defenders are the ones who need them, of course, for the biggest reasons, because they don't have the resources, where the district attorneys have all of the resources. Maybe not an unlimited supply, but virtually so. So when there's an opportunity for somebody who has bountiful liquid assets to just throw at a problem, or even maybe just the appearance of, and can talk a good game, things in the courts just seem to evaporate over time. Probably the only way good to describe it. They go out there and they hope that things just, there's less and less interest. There's less interest for, the full-on parade of trial, and hope that there's much more want to just, fine, what's a good enough number? Fine, this is a good enough? Fine. Just go away. It's annoying, because it's not supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be that everyone gets their fair share. Everyone gets their fair stake. And everyone gets their fair voice. The problem with this whole damn thing that's going on over in New York is, of course, that as much as we would like to say, yes, every defendant should have their day, should have their ability to make sure that every legal recourse is available to them, but that also means that we're expecting them to be good actors and in good faith actors. But when they're not, all they do is just take it from a grind slow to a glacial slow crawl. I don't believe that's the way it's supposed to be. And by the simple written words, it isn't. But yet, after all that crap, here we are. It's starting. And I, for one, am ready to go out tomorrow and buy another big bucket of popcorn waiting to go into my wok. I can't wait. That out of the way, I think now's about as good a time as anybody to go ahead and get the horrible scopes and move on from there. Assuming that sounds good enough to everybody else.
Sure.
So let's do that. So, it is time.
Yes. By the way,
Yes.
one potential option for a popcorn alternative that was actually turned on to me by somebody who couldn't have corn, and I tried it, was actually really, really good. They're generally referred to as fox nuts, but what they are is they're lotus seeds that have been popped, very popular in India. And um, because I have grocery stores with a lot of very large different ethnic sections, depending on which way I drive, um, some of these seasonings are really simple: salt and pepper. But then other ones are like tikka masala and so on. And it turns out if you just get the plain ones and you real quick put them in a hot skillet with a little bit of oil just to crisp up the outside, otherwise they're just soft. Um, you can throw in your favorite seasoning. If you're a ranch person, throw some ranch powder in there. If you like sweet stuff, throw in a little brown sugar and a little cinnamon, and now you suddenly have a very sweet thing. And they're a little bit more robust than popcorn, and they definitely have better nutrients than popcorn. But they're really good. I was really pleasantly surprised by these things.
That sounds really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, then again, there's always the option of going into the nondescript cereal section, getting puffed rice, but that doesn't exactly have the same.
Well, it's not rice. It's
No.
lotus root
I know.
seeds. Yeah.
I'm saying that there's always more stuff to try.
Said lotus root seeds. Lotus seeds. Didn't need to put root in there. Oh yeah, sautéed lotus root is amazing. Oh,
Let's move on to the horrible scopes because we're on a time crunch. I have to be out in
sorry.
35 minutes. Go.
So, time for the horrible scopes. If you know what your horrible scope is supposed to be because you know what your astrological sign is, cool. If you don't, get yourself one of those D12s with the squiggles on it. You can get it from the nice folks that sponsor us, Heart of the Game Fredonia. Take a swing over onto Google Maps, take a look at them. You'll see them. They're the store with the mimic in the window. It's supposed to be there. If it's not there, that's Heart of the Game Fredonia. Just pop in someday if it's in the window and just it's behind a door at that point. If it's not there, don't stop. It's all good. Anyway, so last week I was a little late getting the scopes out. Sorry about that. So to make it up, we're actually doing work this time on these. Plus, there's also the small business of that. I've been bribed, literally this time, and to quote, "Be nice to Gemini." So, with that in mind, gonna give you all something to think about this week, and well, there is actual work involved this time, so you appreciate me. Aries, the weather is going to feel like it's out to get you this week. It isn't, but it'll be hard to convince you otherwise. Make sure to check your windows. All your windows, that they're closed properly, because if you miss one of them, you'll have to deal with more than just rain getting in. It'll be fruit flies. So this week, buy a Venus flytrap for your kitchen. It'll be fun and weird and fascinating, all at the same time.
Taurus, you need to remember to buy yourself a little back pocket sized notebook, a golf pencil the next time you're out. As always, there's a reason for it. And that reason is because your memory about impulsive ideas sucks. You have these great ideas and you think you'll remember them later, and you never remember. And you always think you'll remember this time, and it never works. So this week, buy a little notebook.
Gemini, your compliment to last week of, quote, "You're more helpful than you realize," unquote, is getting a mulligan. It actually is more true than you realize, which kind of tracks exactly right. What you do is keep everyone around you honest. Where some people do it in a super annoying way, you do it in a nurturing way. You make sure that everyone is on the path to making things right, while making sure you feel appreciated, nurtured, and respected. So this week, treat yourself to a good dinner one night. And by good, we mean something that could have a wine pairing for it. You've earned it.
I was going to specifically put something that doesn't end in helper, but the wine thing felt
Hey,
better.
you can pair wine with hamburger helper.
Yes, you could, but just because you could doesn't mean you should. Cancer Mode Child, video game season for you. Take some time to search various tech news sites for Steam game and price reduction. Because every once in a while, there are super discounts, even free games, but you likely won't see the announcements on, like, Google News until the sale is, 2 days later. Sometimes the games are great, sometimes they're crap. But ultimately, it's worth having something you can make rage content with. So this week, update your version of OBS. It is way out of date.
So, speaking of updating programs, when was the last time you updated your computer's video driver? You're guessing it's been a while. Doesn't matter which manufacturer you're dealing with, it's always a pain in the neck. Maybe what you need is something called Display Driver Uninstaller. We can tell you it won't generate Bitcoin money for you, but it does have a very particular set of skills it acquired over a very long career of programmers pulling their hair out in very specific circumstances. So this week, Double D, you is your friend. It's more than a friend, it's family. And it's all about family and movie references.
Virgo, time to face facts. You need to do some clothes shopping. Not because you need something more fashionable, but because you're still losing weight. And we're proud of you for it. The idea of just parking as far from the grocery store's door as you can and walking more, stroke of genius. You get more walking in without resorting to the mall walking with the grandparents. So this week, start with something simple like pants. Don't go for jeans. Get something with some color, maybe a pattern. Just not black and white herringbone.
There's always reasons. Now I'm not going to explain it. Libra, remember that first car you had an accident in? Yeah, that was a terrifying experience, right? Yeah. Now think about how many new and not as experienced drivers there are out on the road these days. Kind of boggles the mind, right? You got some good in you. We can feel the conflict. Release your road rage and join us in being nurturing forces for good on the highways and byways. So this week, if you figured out the movie reference this time, you also recognize the term byways as a legit term. You are educated well. Your teachers are proud of you.
Scorpio, you don't think you'd be good at it, but we're pretty sure you'd make for a great boat captain. Not a big boat with a dozen crew, but a smaller one with like 7 people. A chance to head out on a body of water to go fishing or swimming would be great, right? It's still too soon in the season to do that, but it's fast approaching. So this week, get in touch with your local Coast Guard service and inquire about a maritime safety course. It's never too soon to brush up on how to operate a watercraft safely.
Sagittarius, what's the best way to thank someone randomly? Well, first off, how about not annoying someone that doesn't deserve to be. So if you did it, own up to it and say you're sorry. Should you get them a gift card for food? Like coffee? You know what? It's not bad at all. Just remember what's most important. Honestly saying those two little words. So this week, practice saying, I'm sorry. It's a good thing to remind yourself that you're human.
It's true. Capricorn, deadlines are amusing, right? You get things done as soon as they're assigned and never leave things to the last minute, right? Right. Yeah. Okay, kidding aside, let's remind you why you love coffee too much. Because you've learned how to control your uncontrollable finger twitches. You figured out how to direct your fingers so you can type at like 700 words a minute. So this week, if you disable the autocorrect feature on your typing programs, you'll see just how much you rely on that feature. So maybe switch to voice typing instead, assuming your Wi-Fi connection is good.
Aquarius, here's a little something from your childhood you've forgotten that you enjoy. Jigsaw puzzles. No, you don't have to go out and buy a 1,500-piece set and be worried that you'll lose a piece or 10. But how about you just get a free program that can turn any picture you have into a puzzle? The best part is that it's a challenge that doesn't have to be impossible. So this week, it's not cheating to place all the pieces in one place and trying to get them to auto snap onto a piece you drag into place, because the purpose is to have fun. If that's fun, then that's not cheating. So enjoy yourself.
Not sure I want to endorse this one, but because I tried watching it and I think I had a seizure. Anyway, Pisces, we need you to figure out if the name of the game is one word or two. The game is Helldivers 2. Now, before you say anything, just know that this is a trick question. Because we could just say the number 2 is the second word. Regardless, you need to watch a specific player's game vids if you want to laugh. The account is, all in one word, sounds like pizza. And he sounds like a traumatized American drill sergeant, but he's a Brit with an English accent. So this week, be on the lookout for the man, the myth, the legend, B1. You'll know what we're talking about after you see those vids. Trust us, they're funny as hell. And as a side note, turn your volume down before you hit play. It's loud.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to find that. I'll have to find that one specific vid because otherwise, that line, the man, the myth, the legend, B1 doesn't hold quite as much sway, but it will. It will. Those are your horrible scopes for this week. Remember, if you like what you got, good, because I worked hard at it this time, especially for Gemini, because they got what they paid for this time, I hope. I'll have these posted at the end of the week, as always. Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, Blue Sky. I've still got the little thumb drive over here. So you want my my Blue Sky NFT invite codes? I'll do that for you. And of course, if you want to bribe me, take a swing over to the coffee page, coffee.com/Icarus the Lunar Guard. There's a story behind that. I'm not up to explaining it right now, so you just have to take my word on it because it's worth it that way. This episode, actually, wait a minute. Let me double check something here. No, I did get it right. Episode 491 on the docket runner. Keep digging deeper, folks. So, we're not exactly gonna be picking on any particular personality or singling out any particular man on the street interviewer, because that doesn't happen as much as it used to. Back in the day, in the 70s, oh yeah, guys would go out on the street of whatever major city and they'd bring the news crew and they'd literally interview people literally on the street. But these days, that's been less done by quote unquote legitimate news organizations and done far and away more by the comedy groups. So I kind of want to do a little bit of a thing on this and kind of discuss that, and because it's one of those things where, Jon Stewart even had said, why is it that people are coming to your shows less and coming to mine more for news reporting and being better educated on the news? So it just kind of seems a little bit funny to me that that's kind of the way that it's worked. So Bridget, since you've got the least amount of time for the next, till the top of the hour, I'm giving you a free rein to kind of talk a little bit on this, what it was like I said, back in the day, watching them, the film crews come back inside afterwards, and literal man and woman on the street for a topic, and wow, geez, they don't exactly do that the way that they used to, eh?
Mostly these days it's done for comedic effect, but the sad thing is there are people out there that are every bit as ill-informed as are being interviewed. It's really sad how many uninformed, clueless people there are in society, and that's kind of funny but sad. I mean, it's done for laughs and everything, but it's looking like a good 30% of our population are just.
Yeah, it's funny that you say very specifically about 30% of the population, though.
Mm-hmm.
And Tech, you and I, we've said it before, kind of grew up in the same overall area, the New York Metro. I have to imagine you kind of remember what it was like, ABC, Channel 11. The guys would go out there. The newsies go out there on the streets of New York. They'd come back afterwards, and 6 o'clock news. They'd have the talkies every once in a while with the people. Maybe save it for the 10 o'clock news.
Oh yeah, big time. In fact, one of the things I do miss is that one of the old, not the news, but one of the late night show hosts. I think it was Jay Leno. Wasn't sure, but he had one of the shows had somebody go out and interview people and ask them random questions. And this was before it was popular, like "Are you smarter than a fifth grader?" and all that crap was popular. And I remember seeing this person who was being sent out to interview people talk to this one guy, and I'm going, "Is that Kid Rock? No, is that Kid Rock?" And the the, the interviewer doesn't ask the names of the people they're talking to, and they ask something in particular, and this guy it was either Kid Rock or the spitting image doppelganger of Kid Rock turns and goes, "I was never really good in school. I'm sorry," and just keeps on walking. And I'm going, "I think that was Kid Rock." And of course, later on with COVID and Kid Rock being the whole anti-mask and everything else, I was like, that may have actually been him. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it was Jay Leno that. Well, Jay Leno was one that had done that, but yeah, there were a number of them over the years that had done. I I think the earliest renditions of that kind of thing I can think of. I think there were some times where they did something similar for the comedic effect, specifically with candid camera.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but I still felt like Candid Camera sometimes went too far.
Well,
I
well, well,
remember
well. Wait a minute. Before you go past that point, which era of candid camera are you thinking of?
the
Because
later years. The later
okay,
years.
because candid
When there
camera,
were
yeah, candid camera started back at I forget what year it was, late '60s, early '70s,
Yeah,
And
and the
it was,
reruns for those, it was great
oh
because it
yeah.
was just showing. There wasn't a setup, It was just
Well,
here's what's happening,
there were some that were specific setups.
But it
Let's be
wasn't as bad as the later years of Candid Camera,
agreed.
where it was just like, really, guys, did you run out of material? Yes, they ran out of material, so they're doing these things now. It's like, can you just like go behind the building and die a quiet death and like let the next show take over? Because wow, you guys are scraping the bottom here.
Yeah, the Candid Camera was on for a large number of years, and it was great lightweight comedy because, by the name of it, the idea of it was they had crews go out there in public. They were perfectly visible. There was no hiding it, and just in some cases they just talked to people just as normal on the street, and they'd agreed to be on. Cool, and they'd ask them some stuff, and some of the answers that they had were curious. There were other times where there were intentional pranks that were done. Very lightweight. Nobody ever got hurt or insulted or anything like that. It was all good fun. It really, really, truly was. It was great. But again, going back to the earlier years,
Mhm.
I'll have to find the intro, or actually, show notes. Yeah, I know that you probably help. Just make sure that I go looking for the Candid Camera intros for that. It was some great stuff. It really, really was some great, wholesome, just TV. But I think the thing that I want to get a couple more minutes in very specifically is that these interviewers that we're dealing with now, who are asking things like, okay, perfect setup. You go to one of these red hat rallies. Just gonna call it that for a second. These red hat rallies. And you ask people, when was America great that you're trying to get it back to?
Oh God, those.
Because the answers are incredibly telling. Not
Very much.
not always because of the answers that you get back. But what fascinates me is how incredibly smart and clued in and attentive and with such great recall these interviewers are. Because every
Mhm.
once in a while they will go ahead and somebody will say, well, you know what, when America was great last was when we were on the gold standard. Now, the gold standard is an economic thing where the wealth of a nation is based on the amount of physical bars of gold that they hold. Now, we have since gone off the gold standard. Some people say for the better, some say for the worse. That's immaterial, pardon the expression for a second, because then the interviewers are just like, okay, and they don't say this, but you can see it in their eyes as they're listening to these people. Okay, the gold standard changed. What year was that? Okay, what year did that happen? Cool. How many years before well, the 13th Amendment and the right of women to vote and the equal protections under the law and all these things, and they know when these years happened so that they can go ahead and they can then question, oh, so we were okay, cool, we were America was great last before black people had the opportunity to vote and women either, right? Okay, so and lynchings were still accepted and not against the law, so that's all good now, right? Never mind the way that the people react to that, the way that these interviewers work. Holy smoke! Every once in a while, I think that I'm a pretty good interviewer, but my God, hell, I am totally not in. I am nowhere in that
It
echelon.
also shows the level of awareness of the person that they're interviewing, because when they come back with these responses of like the negative aspect of that era, right? The many negative aspects. Some of these people have some self-awareness because they'll immediately backpedal and go, "Hey, now you're changing what I said. You're twisting the narrative," which we love getting that phrase from Oompa Loompa Mussolini. Um, and but then you have other ones who are just like stand there with like a deer in the headlight look in their face, and they just kind of like drool or nod their head or just kind of like stare, just like, did the hamster fall off the wheel? It is like it's the magic smoke escaping from between the ears. It's somebody reboot this person, you know, and it's just the ones who backpedal is like, okay, you have enough self awareness that you know what you said was wrong and why that is, and you're caught on camera doing it, and you there may at some point be hope for you. But the ones who just kind of stand there with like the deer in the headlights look is like, that's way too many people who react that way. That's a bad sign. Not of that person, but like society in general. When you have a lot of people who have that deer in the headlight look when they're confronted with something that contradicts what they're thinking, and rather than going, that might be wrong, or reacting like backpedaling or any other kind of reaction, just to stop and stare and drool shit, that's not good.
Yeah. So, Richard, you know the kinds of interviews that I'm talking about. Jordan Klepper, I forget how his name's pronounced. The guys that are associated tangentially from Jon Stewart.
Hmm.
These guys are just so good at what they do, and I'm so glad that they have not stopped doing that kind of thing. You know?
Well, even Stephen Colbert has, some good ones.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that it was amazing that he kept up the GOP persona for so long, and people actually thought that he was GOP
My God.
when he did the Colbert Report.
That was
I mean,
and
he
he
was in
was,
character. It was perfect, but
yeah, because he would agree with them
I
while
know.
he showed exactly how toxic they were. And
Hmm.
because they were getting smoke blown up their butts and pats on the back while being told that you're an idiot without being told you're an idiot, but making it sound like a compliment, um, it works. And it's the GOP is not the only one who's susceptible to this, but it does work in general.
Oh,
Hmm.
absolutely
I thought
agree.
he was brilliant, and he still is brilliant.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And again, that's part of the reason why, I've gotten compliments for being a good interviewer before. Okay, cool. That's great. But holy smoke. um Hearing how these people have got such incredible memory on where everything is in the timeline.
Hmm.
Wow, never mind that this is not a paid gig for us to do, and that I would like to think that I'm better than I am, because I mean, wouldn't we all like to be? Just for our overall day-to-day, with the way that we deal with folks every once in a while, God, I would love to have that kind of knowledge and just memory on the stuff. And I know full well they had to work at it. I know
Yeah.
they had to work at it, but my God, they're doing such a great job on that.
Unfortunately, I don't have that kind of memory. My memory was bad enough before I got COVID twice,
Hmm.
and it's even worse now. And when people try to engage now, with politics and such, if I don't have like notes or easy access to reference material or the internet, so I can actually, go, okay, where are you getting your sources from? Well, let me go and read that, that sort of thing. I don't engage then. if I don't have those kinds of setups, because I'm not playing with a fully functional brain anymore, and I know it. I'm aware that it's not what it should be anymore. So I couldn't do what they do, which is that go out and talk to people and everything else. I mean, sure, go out and talk to people about computers from the old days, but you know, history was not my thing. Yeah, so I've got to have my notes. I've got to have an internet connection and so on. And I just couldn't do what they do. So mad props to them.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Speaking of interviewers, Jon Stewart is a hell of an interviewer.
I'm so glad he's back doing this thing.
He is amazing.
Honestly, if he ran for president, I would vote for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he is smart enough to know full well that that is not a job that he would be good at.
Yep.
No, but if he ended up running for whatever reason and winning, I have confidence based on his ability to, where he's demonstrated before his ability to find talent. He would find the people he needed to get the things done. The people who had the capabilities, the knowledge, the experience, and so on. He would be able to build all the good people that he would need to work for him to make the things happen. Like, for example, I know that if he were as a president, he would take good care of our veterans. He would make that happen. But while he knows some places to start, he would definitely hire the people who have experience of working with the VA and so on in writing these laws and such, and getting the bills signed and paid. He wouldn't try to tackle it alone because he's not dumb. Whereas you might have another up and coming politician who's so full of themselves, I can do everything. I just need people who agree with me.
Yeah, we've been there and done that.
I probably shouldn't have done the whole accent. I'm just trying to differentiate between my own, and unfortunately I'm hearing a lot of southern drawls coming from some very stupid people, but southern people in general are not stupid. I've met some very smart people with some really thick Southern accents, which really sucks because it makes it really hard for me to understand them. It's like, it's not you guys, it's my problem. It's not your problem, but damn, it's hard, especially when you talk as fast as a New Yorker.
Considering that
I,
I've been trying very, very hard to listen to the Growing Up Italian podcast. Folks, I was born in Brooklyn. My first couple of years I lived in Brooklyn. I was raised on Long Island. I am so glad that PBS inspired me to lose whatever accent that I had so that I could eventually be on broadcast radio.
Yeah.
Ask me about that sometime. I'll be more than happy to explain.
I spent a little time down in South Carolina, and I was talking to some college kids, and I was also younger at the time, so it wasn't creepy. And they had a Southern drawl with the speed of a New Yorker. I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm so glad I have spent time in New York City because I could at least keep up with the speed, but the drawl just. Uh,
It's a different animal entirely, isn't it?
oh God, man, it was
Mhm.
painful. My friends were just like, I have no idea what's going on. I was like, I have a clue. Hold on, I think I can get through. We were trying to get directions and shit.
It's about the point where you pull out Google Translate, right?
It didn't exist back then.
Just saying.
Well, I know that my accent varies depending on who I've been around. I have a tendency to, if I've been in Mississippi for any length of time, it comes back very strongly. And my husband is like, shut up, just don't talk for a few days.
If I spend a lot of time in an area that has any kind of strong accent in the general population of that area. I will pick up little bits of it, but I have to work real hard to try to sound like them because I did all through elementary school, junior high, and high school choir nonstop, and it destroyed the accent that I did have at the time was completely neutralized in my young adolescent life, and um, unfortunately, it still hinders my ability to maintain accents to this day.
And in my case, I know full well that I have had very specific items that have just dropped into my just normal. There are a couple
Mhm.
of Italian phrases that I end up using, just don't even realize I've just done it. It just drops out of my head. There is a very specific Japanese expression where the I don't remember if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but my wife used to use it every once in a while. Kurewa nan desu ka? And I'm saying it poorly, and it's basically, you know, it loosely translates as "the hell is that?" And you know, I don't even realize I've said it sometimes, and it's just like it just pops out of me. It's, if I try to consciously say it, it doesn't come out right. So yeah, I don't know if that makes me sound better or worse, but you know what? There's a couple of things here and there. I know for well, there's a couple of English items that pronunciations. I like saying schedule. I don't usually use the term, but you know, and I write words in OUR because that's the way that they're supposed to be. The only reason we don't do it that way over here in the United States is because, well, it was cheaper on ink to remove the U when you were printing stuff.
I still spell the word grey Grey.
Yeah,
Always have, will.
yeah.
Um, and some of it is just preference. I mean, I still spell canceled Canceled without the two L's. That's the way that I was taught.
Hey,
But either one, however you want to pronounce it, is correct.
according to Trump, stolen is spelled with two L's.
Yeah,
So is
and choke is CHOCK
See,
too.
that's what happened. He stole the L out of your canceled and put it into stolen.
That makes perfect sense.
perfectly
Or as
reasonable.
we would say in Mississippi, that makes perfect sense.
You can say that. We're just not going to get into a flame war over how to pronounce those nuts. You know what I'm talking about. We're not going
D's.
to do that.
He's nuts.
I'm not.
But when I'm working at the truck stop on the weekends, the southern accent comes back because we have a lot of truckers that come in and I'm around them all day. And, then it sound like I'm from Kentucky.
All you got to do is just grab yourself one of those Kilber 148 GTLs, you switch it on over to 18, you'll be perfectly fine catching up with all what's
I'm
going
like,
on.
hey, honey, let me get the door for you.
God, are they still using Channel 18, man?
I
Really?
have no idea.
They
I'm not a trucker.
Because
probably
I
should be.
had because when I was growing up as a kid, I had the handheld walkie-talkie with like the 6-foot telescoping antenna, but it had the crystal-based chips in them. And so depending on which chip you put in there, if you flipped over to channel A, you were on channel 8. You were on channel 18 on. But if you flipped over to channel B, then you were on, what was it, 17 or 16 or something? I
Whatever
can't
one you
remember.
put in.
Yeah, and I remember specifically staying on channel A because I would hear all the truck drivers on my side of the mountain.
I don't know.
I even talked to some of them.
I just know that there's issues at work because I still haven't gotten used to the word productivity, which is how they say it. I've always called it productivity.
Yep.
Um, and that's my hill, and I'm going to die on it. Damn it.
See,
Kind of like when people say nuclear.
Oh, that
There's
makes me
only
crazy.
one U in there, knucklehead. It's
Nuclear.
nuclear.
I'm not going to go ahead and start a flame war with the Oxford comma. I will, however, die on the hill of names like Icarus having something, it is spelled Icarus apostrophe. No following S. It's just because it ends in an S, apostrophe. I will die on that hill, and if anybody wants to go ahead and find me, I will be up there with Sisyphus and his rock with an apostrophe and no S afterwards.
Apostrophe abuse is a real thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. But you know what? I'm that kind of personality because
I'm just saying, I always ask for consent for my apostrophe first.
you can, but can't say no if they can't say nothing. We have to let you go now, don't we?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. This has been a lot of fun, but I have to get my Z's in because tomorrow's going to be grueling.
Not a worry. I'm glad that you get to go away,
Night, all.
having a
Hope
good
you get
smile.
your Z's.
Yeah. Do I get to do my obligatory
I
fuck you now?
I hope you would.
I have a twofer.
Well, considering you missed out last week, gimme.
I'm gonna do Marjorie 3 names and Lauren Boebert for raising such a shitstorm over passing Ukrainian aid and getting all bent out of shape because people were waving Ukrainian flags in the chamber. And, she was wanting to add all these bullshit amendments to the passage of Ukrainian things, and she can't even identify Transcarpathia on a map. Russian asset. You two, go fuck yourselves.
I'm perfectly on board with this one. So, you have yourself a good nap. I don't know if that's going
Yeah,
to qualify as
what it is, it's going to be an app because it's like, what time is it? 12:03. It's going to be like 4 hours.
Hey, look at the bright side. Coffee good.
Yes, and I will be consuming massive quantities of it very, like, fast. I will have milk in it to cool it off so I don't scorch my mouth.
But that's half the fun.
I know, but I'm on a time crunch.
Fair enough. All right. So, you have yourself a good night, and hopefully we get you next week. So you
Yeah,
take
I
care
hope
of
so
yourself.
too.
You try to take better care of yourself.
No doubt.
Yep.
No more testing gravity for me, buddy.
Yep. We definitely appreciate that. So,
Hey, obey gravity. It's the law.
Yep, and it
yeah.
still works.
Unless you went to Acme Lou, in which case gravity doesn't work until you look
Or
down.
it's cartoon physics.
Everybody say goodnight to Bridget. Good night, Bridget.
Night. Love you guys.
We'll see you.
Dobre večer.
Which is
Moja druzi. Good evening, my friends. Or actually, dobra den because it's gonna be day.
Dobre din is good day.
Yeah. Or I could say do pobачення. Bye.
ciao.
Hasta la bye bye.
Hasta la taco.
Hasta la bye.
Bueno nachos.
Go away.
Bye.
Shoo.
See, now you go ahead and you do that to me, and all of a sudden I don't know what to do with myself. Perfect. So,
How about the Bears? No.
Some Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears.
God, I love that skit. Saturday Night Live. Gotta love it.
Well, at least
You
back in
saw
the
their
day.
latest one with Beavis and Butthead, right?
I did not.
I
don't pay
I'll
attention.
find the link for you.
I don't pay attention to Saturday Night
Well,
Live.
basically, they had two well-known actors done up in makeup to make them look like adult versions of Beavis and Butthead, and had them sitting in the audience during a quote-unquote talk show. And the host is completely oblivious to like the whole concept of Beavis and Butthead, but the guest is just like, wait, I'm sorry, there's a guy in the back here who looks just like Beavis from Beavis and Butthead, and there's Like, and this is just like you gotta see it. You just gotta see it. The
Yeah.
makeup was so well done.
All right. All right. Let's see about that. So, backtracking a little bit, like I was saying, that part of it has got to do with the interviewers, because oh my God, these guys are so guys and gals, they're so good at what they do. My God, you want to talk about so much prep work to make sure that you know the topic easily better than anyone that you're interviewing. Just holy smoke. It boggles my mind how many different pieces these guys have to juggle. Because every once in a while there will be somebody that I don't remember which one this one was, but a much younger person running the interview, and they're asking somebody about stuff, and they're just like, well, tell me one thing that Biden's done that Donald Trump couldn't get done. And the kid's just like, oh, well, there was this, and there was this, so 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 was this. You said only just one though, right? And the guy's just standing there, is just like, just dead test pattern face, just not knowing what to do about it. And then finally it clicks in, and it's just like, yeah, well, this thing, and whatever. I mean, the kid's already got you dead to rights, my dude. Just take the loss and be done with it.
And of course, what the one thing that does bother me though is they don't typically show the interviews with the smart ones because it's not as entertaining.
Unless
Eh,
unless
uh,
unless the smart ones are the ones who actually go ahead and make really excellent points that work with the overall timbre that they're going for.
right. And it's so when they do the samples, now, granted, the other side of that coin is sometimes when you show up at these events where, let's say, for example, where they're trying to protest an abortion clinic, right? And they've got their signs up and they're spouting off their stuff and they've got incorrect information on their signs. They're obviously drinking from the Kool-Aid and they don't have their facts right. Um, if you interview any of them, they're obviously going to be bad um,
Bad actors.
bad actors. Exactly. You're not going to find too many of the smart ones when you see a lot of this incorrect medical information being spouted as facts. And no matter how you interview them, it's probably not going to make them look very good. So when you get into like a MAGA crowd, and a lot of them are old white people or just generally people who have a predisposition for racist politicians or greedy politicians or whatever, there's really not any way to kind of spin that in a positive light.
Well, that's okay. The problem with that, trying to determine what qualifies as the positive light.
Meaning that
Because
they're actually making like a coherent argument rather than just regurgitating a slogan. Because I'll see too many of it where they'll interview somebody and that person just is regurgitating slogan after slogan after slogan after slogan.
oh
And
yeah.
it's like, okay, this person is not thinking for themselves. There's a lot of people here probably not thinking for themselves. But wouldn't it be better as a journalist, as an interviewer, if you could get more of the ones who actually do think for themselves, that can actually make some counter arguments and so on to work with this? We understand that no matter what party a person does vote for, there's a lot of really dumb people that just go, oh, that person said something I agree with, I'm going to vote for them. End of story. That's it. That's the done. They're not thinking beyond that point.
Yeah.
Um, and then you have others who are like, that person said something, that politician said something interesting. Let me look into this and see if I should support this person. I want more interviews done with those people, right? And we're not getting a lot of that. And I would love to see these people who go out and interview from the MAGA crowd. Yes, I understand you're going to get a lot of slogan regurgitators. Put that on the back burner when you get them. Get the other ones. When you find those ones that actually have done something, right or wrong, I want to start listening to those because I've heard all the damn slogans. I don't need to hear it again. And I've already seen the whole deer in the headlights thing, and that just creeps me the fuck out. I don't need to see that anymore. And same with the ones who drool. It's like, if I want to see drool, I'll go watch baby videos. Yeah. Or people who have just gotten out of dental surgery videos.
Those
Are
exist.
funny.
Those exist
Yeah.
too. I need for you to do me a favor. Leave a note for me to find the video from, and I can't believe I'm going to actually say this, Oprah Winfrey. Now, some of you might remember Oprah Winfrey by name. She had her daytime talk show. We know full well that Oprah is not a good actor. I don't want to say that she is intentionally a bad actor, so to speak. But she's not a good actor because, amongst others, she's brought us Dr. Phil, and Dr. Oz. So you get the point here. What I'm going to need is a reminder to find the clip of the kid that was on, who was an evangelical preacher, because I forget how old he was. I think it was like 14 years old or something like that. And he was dressed up, had the thing. They were doing whatever the interview was, or talking about whatever. And she asked if he would, show some of the preaching that he did. And the audience is like, okay, yeah, go ahead. And he's just kind of a little bit scared, but he goes ahead and he stands up from the chair and he starts doing the fire and brimstone-y kind of thing, walking back and forth across the stage, and loud voice, the whole thing, pointing out at everybody, holding his zippered up Bible in his hand and pointing at everybody, and did his thing for a couple moments, and she gave a great follow-up question that was an incredible softball and was pitched, pardon the expression, in such a way as to be gentle, but very pointed at the same time. And she basically asked him, well, what does it all mean? And that's one of those things where, for me, it was just how elegant a question, how elegant a way of pointing out. But what does it mean?
I found it.
Already found? Excellent. Cool. And it was,
Io's Google foo is strong.
oh yeah, she's good. And that's one of those interviews. It wasn't exactly an interview per se. I mean, it was a daytime talk show. It is what it is. But it was one of those ones that has stuck with me for a very... Actually, Io, would you be so kind to let us know what year that one was specifically from? Because I think it was like 90... I think it was mid-90, 96, 97 maybe. But it's one of those things that stuck with me for a very, very long time. Because it was simply sublime. Because it was just so efficient.
Well, according to the notes, the family that the child is from started in the 80s in North Carolina doing that stuff in their town. So not long after that, the kids started doing it too.
Man. And
No, I lost a lot of respect for Oprah when she had a person on who was an atheist, and
oh God, yeah, I know
yeah,
right where you're going on that one. Yeah, go ahead.
and she asked the person if they had awe, and the person said yes, and he goes, "Well, there you go. You believe in God." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And then dumb idiot person in the chair just randomly agreed with Oprah, and then it all kind of went downhill from there. And I'm like, "You idiot! Awe is not something that means you believe in God. Awe is just awe."
Yeah, yeah, and give you a perfect example. When the eclipse happened across North America recently, were we in awe of it? A good majority of us was. I know I was. I couldn't even watch it per se. I mean, I put some of the pictures that I took with my phone because there was so much cloud cover. I didn't even need to have the solar filter on it. Was I in awe of it? Oh hell yes. But then again, you know, science loving atheist over here, sure, yeah. But I mean, that doesn't change anything. It's great. It's amazing. But it, still, no God. Thank you. Appreciate it. But yeah. So the reason why I have the title for the show that I do is because there is another piece to this, which is the response. And Tex already kind of, alluded to it also, that when people get reminded, okay, so you think, the 1850s or is, when, or the 1840s was when America was last greatest, and then point out things like, slavery was still a thing, segregated everything was still a thing, women couldn't show their ankles was still a thing. You get the idea. Go down, just down the list, down the list, down the list. And these people could be backpedaling, and a lot of them do, but there's also a whole bunch of them also that just dig in deeper, and they will do the well, yes, but not really like that thing that completely negates the idea that they have any kind of a position whatsoever, other than, like Tech said, they're just spewing off the selling points. And I'm saying that because I had to have my car put in to get a little bit of service because I got to get a inspection on my car, and one of the sales guys talked with me about some of the cars because I like to keep up on the tech on the stuff, and he mentioned about the all electric vehicle that's going to be coming out, and he had a couple of very specific words that he used to describe it. And I'm just like, okay, kind of weird combination of words, but I mean, okay. And then I went looking it up on the webpage while I'm waiting for my car to be done, and well, would you look at that? That's exactly the terminology used on the webpage for the sales. I don't even know what to do with that now. But Tech, you're exactly right. For some of them, it's not necessarily that they're ideologues. It's that they are simply more salespeople and don't even realize it because they just keep with the same sales pitch and don't know how to stop doing it. Or maybe just don't want to because they think it's just all that in a bag of chips. I can't believe I just used that expression.
Yeah. Um, I, I I don't know how to continue from here, other than what we've already said so far. So, do we transition to what? I'm going to be a bad shit co-host. I'm at a loss for words at this point because I've used up everything I wanted to say, and we don't have a third party to like riff off of.
No, it's okay. Um, I guess the thing that gets me to keep us rolling is that we also kind of remember in the back of our heads. We don't always remember it, actively. We know full well in the back of our heads that these kinds of interviews are also they're edited. They're edited for very specific content so much of the time. And once upon a time ago, perfect example, the 70s. If it was a news organization that was doing the interviews, we had a very high expectation that these were just unbiased, or at the very least, they tried to make sure that the content that they did collect was presented in an unbiased way, as unbiased a way as possible, and equaled. So that if there was somebody that was on one side of an issue, with the way that they answered it, that they had an equal number on the opposite side, or with a different angle, so that at least there was the opportunity that you'd hear what was expected to be informative and less generative. I guess might be the best way that I can put that. And if memory serves, it was during the Reagan era that the idea of the whole fairness doctrine went away, right?
Give or take.
Yeah. So here in the U.S., there was something for the news organizations that was referred to as the fairness doctrine. The idea that if you had somebody espousing a very specific point on contentious topic, that you'd have someone on the opposite side of it in order to fairly balance out the perspectives, to make sure that the public could make their own opinion based off of the best arguments that either side had to give.
It was abolished in 1987.
87. So that would have been, during Reagan's tenure, because he came in 80 and he left in 88. How do I know that? Because those were the formative years for me, and my high school band did a rally for the Republican Party. I don't remember the whole ins and outs of it. We got invited to go to a thing, and I very clearly remember that in high school, there they are. They're, the bunch of them are chanting out there, 4 more years, and the bunch of us are back there, 4 more beers. That's right. High school, you're really not supposed to do that, but of course, high school kids, what are you gonna do? Stephanie's also pointing out everything good was eroded during the Reagan-Thatcher era. I would really like to argue on that, but I don't think that I really can. Here in the United States, it's very hard to argue that part. I don't have nearly as much information on the political scene for England and the United Isles for what all happened under Margaret. But considering the way that some people dealt with the announcement of her passing, I think it's safe to say that she did not make a great showing for herself for the people that did not agree with her. I think that's arguably the nicest way of putting that.
See, the fairness doctrine was actually used as a weapon against right wingers. And so every time there were like little tiny radio stations and such that were spouting right wing whatever, the the Democratic Party would get their people out there going, hey, look, you got to do counter to this. You can't just let this go by. This is just one side of the story. And they would hit them with hammers all the time about it. They even had um, uh, plans of actions and such written up on how to go about it. Here, oh, you're going to go to such and such radio station because they're letting right wing politicians spout nonsense and there's nobody there countering, doing anything. Here, take this paperwork. This is a plan of action, and you go over there and you just run with the paperwork. You'll be fine.
And there's a piece about this that's very much a product of its day. The Fairness Doctrine was also for, very specifically, broadcast public airwaves, which meant anything that went on AM radio, FM radio, television, broadcast television, over-the-air television. That's where the Fairness Doctrine came in. With the advent of privatized distribution of information, like cable TV, or streaming services, or non-terrestrial radio, Fairness Doctrine didn't apply, even though it was kind of on its legs, on its way out anyway, before a good portion of that was really a thing. Other than broadcast TV, because cable television was easily a thing come 1980. The late 70s is when when cable TV really started picking up a lot of momentum. I mean, HBO was king. And now that it's been removed entirely, in the late 80s, it didn't have to be a thing anymore. The over-the-air broadcast services, of course, for television news especially, it's hard-pressed a lot of times. But even though it is still streaming via cable television, it's still the same stuff as over-the-air. So, the local and national broadcasts do still have to follow some regulations and oversight, and they do have to be a service to the public. But as we said before, you get to the streaming services, the cable television distribution and production groups like CNN. Well, you don't need to follow any of that stuff, so it doesn't even matter. And that's annoying.
I mean, they tried to bring back the Fairness Doctrine in the late 2000s. Like 2005, I think they started and kept on going for several years. But the Republicans were in charge of everything. They just hit it like built a brick wall in front of it. And because they know here's how powerful the Fairness Doctrine was. It wasn't until a year after the Fairness Doctrine was abolished that they basically signed up Rush Limbaugh to allow it, and he got away with so much. If the Fairness Doctrine had still been in place, Rush would not have become what he had become.
It's true. It's true. Rush Limbaugh would have still been spinning country records in PM Drive. Yeah, some people kind of forget about that. Rush Limbaugh went wherever the money was as a DJ. So, you know, I for one am glad to live in an era where we don't have Rush Limbaugh um, consuming the oxygen that I otherwise need. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I'm comfortable saying that. Of course, there will eventually be a day where I won't be doing that either. So, thank you for being part of my lifetime. Appreciate it. Come on, man. Gallows humor. Sometimes that's all we got. Interviewers and the interviewees. It's a really weird and interesting dynamic that way. And I think the last thing that we're gonna kind of chat on this one is that and tech. I really want you to kind of give me your thing on this one. Like I said, these men on the street interviews. You go out in public, there is no expectation of privacy. You can be photographed, you can be filmed, and you know it is.
It depends. Some states and counties have different kinds of laws and such going on, but yeah, for generally speaking, in the United States of America, if you are on public property, you do not have um, the word that you use
Expectation of privacy.
the expectation of privacy. Correct.
Now, but and here's where it gets to be fun. But just because you don't have an expectation of privacy doesn't mean that you're obligated to speak to someone that asks, "Would you like to be interviewed?" So once you go ahead and you
Correct.
do that, it's all on you at that point, and you have no obligation to continue speaking at any point. Well, actually, that kind of is the entirety of my point, because so many people, so many of these, real quick, so many of these people just decide, sure, I can talk on a subject, and suddenly they realize, oh, I don't know enough about this subject or like anything about this subject, but maybe I can bullshit my way through it just enough, and they don't just beat a hasty retreat and just go, you know what, no, never mind.
Yeah. So some places, some locations in the U.S., you can approach another person in a public area and start talking to them, and the person has a right to say, look, don't talk to me. I don't want to engage, whatever. And if you continue to do it, it suddenly becomes harassment. And then there's other places where if they keep doing it, it's not harassment. So first off, you got to know your local laws and of the areas that you're in and such. And then two, that aside, if somebody approaches me and they have a camera and a microphone, and they're making a beeline for me, and it's obvious that they're coming for me, I'm going to point out right away. It's like, look, nope, I'm not doing anything on camera. I'm not doing anything on tape. I doesn't matter what you want to talk about. No, thank you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Yep, perfectly legit.
Yep.
Notice I did
I
not
could
say.
also just I could also just ignore them. I could keep walking or keep standing there. I could not engage at all and just give them, the stare or not even look at them. I have so many recourses. But what I don't have is I don't have the right to sue them just because they said, "Hey, we'd like to ask you some questions." I don't have the right to hit them because they say, "Hey, we'd like to ask you some questions." Um, if I feel threatened, I have multiple recourses, and the first reasonable recourse that most courts will deem reasonable is attempt to vacate the area.
Correct.
Not fire a gun, not use pepper spray, not a taser, not draw your crossbow or your musket.
don't ask. I'll show you
I,
later why that came to mind.
I just want to point out that most of us don't walk around with an unregistered crossbow. Just
Hey,
want to
there's
say,
some states you can walk around with a broadsword strapped to your back as long as it's visible.
I don't have a problem with that.
That would actually be fun.
It
Why are you strapped around? Why are you walking around with a broadsword strapped to your back? Because in this place I can, so I wanted to try it out, officer. Okay, do you know how to use that thing? Nope, that's why it's staying in the scabbard and it's secured because I don't know how to use it.
and apparently over here in New York State, or maybe just Erie County, I forget what it is. It is not legal to possess and or use a walking cane with a sword.
There's a lot of states that have that because the sword cane in a lot of places is banned because it's considered a concealed weapon.
Yeah.
There's also some states that don't consider it a concealed weapon. They have another name for it, and it basically translates to a weapon that's designed not to look like a weapon. Like how there are knives that don't look like knives, but as soon as you push a button or flip a latch or bend it on a hinge or even tug at a string, it's a blade comes out of it. Not, and I'm not even talking like switchblade style versus gravity or any of that crap. But there's a blade. So like there are airports that will put you on the no-fly list if you have some of those kinds of knives too. Um, Knife laws in America, like there are knives I own where I live here and they're fine. But if I drive into Baltimore, I better not have it on my person. Not in my car, not on my person. It doesn't matter if it's legal to own where I live. If I go into Baltimore, I'm screwed.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. And
Yeah.
as
But
on the just real quickly, on the opposite side of that, there are also items where and I don't know where you can still find them, but oh god, what the hell was the name of Think Geek was the name of the group.
yeah, I think he got bought out by I
Yeah.
forget what gaming company it was. Something like
Yeah.
it was one of those video game retail stores, and they just destroyed ThinkGeek.
Yeah. Anyway, Think Geek when they still had a quote unquote brick and mortar is where I got my communicator Bluetooth thing. Um, but what I was going to go with is I don't know where you can still find them, but they used to sell an umbrella, a good sized umbrella that you could strap to your back because the handle looked like it was a katana.
Yeah.
And some groups got a little bent out of shape about that. I can't imagine why, but it was so cool. I'd still love to have.
By the way, do you know that your tricorder from ThinkGeek was originally an April Fool's gag by ThinkGeek?
Wait.
So think
Wait. Two things. Um, iOS pointed out it was GameStop bought ThinkGeek
yes.
and ruined it. Correct. And what tricorder are we talking about? Because I don't have a tricorder.
Sorry, the Star Trek communicator.
Um, no, this was produced by the Magic Wand Company, who has done these, the next generation version, which that sucked, and the remote control Harry Potter ones, so you could actually do
So
infrared controls by swinging in specific orders.
bear with me.
Okay.
ThinkGeek had a habit, a very consistent one, and it was always something. I loaded up ThinkGeek every April Fool's Day
Yep, I know.
because they had the best ones. Like when they had the robes where you could wave your hands and it would make flash lights and make sounds of like wind or fireballs or anything like that.
Yep, it was the
And they were all
sorcerer's robes, and
April Fool's gags. But because the demand came in, they'd actually seek out companies to make the product and go, look, we got this demand. Here's how many people we have who want to buy it. can you make this product and we'll sell it through our company?
And there were a
Right.
couple of them that they were able to do that for.
And there was an actual one April Fool's Day. There was the Star Trek communicator on there. It was one of the earliest April Fool's ones. And if you clicked on it and said, "Ha, April Fools, we can't sell you anything Star Trek communicators because we don't have any," or something to that effect. This is not a product. This is not a real product. And about a year later, it was, or two, it was a real product. And so they found out it became a real product, and they sold it on their website. And it
Okay.
wasn't the first. It wasn't the first time that happened either.
No.
No,
The
that
earliest
happened quite a bit.
the earliest one that I remember was when they had made the sleeping bag in the form of the Star Wars,
The animal.
the tauntaun.
I remember.
And there was a big brouhaha that so many people wanted that for their kids because so many kids thought that was the coolest thing. And then it's like it's April Fools. Oh wait, this is a lot of George, could we have your permission to do this? Yeah, that's funny as hell. Go ahead. What, really? Yeah, that's
Or
great,
how about
man.
the canned unicorn meat,
That also became a
where
real
they
thing.
advertised it had sparkles in it and everything else, and then they made it. It was canned meat with edible glitter, and I'm going, I really want to buy a can of this just to try it, but I'm afraid to buy it because I know I'll try it.
I bought a can so that I could bring it up to Fernal Equinox and
But
give
yeah,
it to the second.
I mean, Think Geek was great. That was
There is
when
still,
the store.
there, however, is still one April Fool's product that never got made that still to this day needs to be made.
Go ahead, hit me because I'm not thinking soundly. Go ahead.
The Nerf nuke.
Oh, I forgot.
The Nerf nuke is a product that was an April Fool's joke. It morally needs to be made. Why it doesn't exist yet is still a fascinating story of intrigue and of disgusting capitalism. Because, god damn it, Nerf, you need to make that Nerf nuke. You need to make the Nerf nuke.
But where were we?
Having fun, realizing that people
Oh yeah,
want.
that we have rights. Um, People seem to misunderstand that when I go out in public and I don't, when we as a people go out in public and we don't have an expectation of privacy, um, we also don't have to pay attention to the people who are taking advantage of it. If somebody goes out in a public area and says something hurtful, like all people of a specific ethnicity or religious background are bad people, we don't have to pay attention to them. We don't have to engage them. We don't have to pay them any mind. We don't have to listen to what they have to say. And the more that people ignore those kinds of people, the ones who spout hateful, harmful things, the less effective they become. But when you go out there and you engage with them, you legitimize them. So if you have people going out there who are trying to convince people to vote on a particular law or something, right? And sometimes when you go to vote, you can vote on certain bills and so on, or whatever the hell they're called. I forget the legal term now. Um, some propositions and so on. You know, um, if somebody out there is saying negative things about it, and you know it to be a positive for the community kind of thing, you can engage in hopes of not convincing that person to change their mind, but the people who are listening to that, right? So you can counter that.
But what you shouldn't do is you shouldn't go over there and punch the person in the face. You don't have a
Correct.
right to not like them. You can't go over there and steal their sign. You can't go over there and take their paraphernalia just because they're saying something hurtful or harmful. This is something that a lot of people do not understand, and we see a lot of videos where evangelical Christians or MAGA people are putting up signs about how women's body autonomy it doesn't need to exist and things like that, and women justifiably so get outraged, but then they go and act on it, and then they get in trouble, not the people spouting the horse shit.
Yeah. That was also the MO for the Westboro Baptist Church. They'd go out there with their protest signs and hope that somebody would engage them physically so that they could have them arrested and sue them for money and keep themselves funded.
Yeah.
Great
And
racket, right?
what was the best way to counter them? A bunch of bikers got together and they said, okay, if these people show up at a funeral, we ride. And they ride, and they didn't engage the Westboro Baptist Church people.
Nope.
They didn't talk to them. They
Nope.
didn't do anything to them. They just circled the area where the funeral was being held, where the Westboro Baptist Church was protesting, and they ran their motorcycles loud and proud, so to speak, and drowned them the fuck out.
Exactly right.
And the thing is that they were not forced to leave because the people attending the funeral did not complain.
That's right.
And it was all public. It was all on public property anyway. The police didn't enforce noise ordinances and stuff like they could have because they knew, first off, it was temporary, and two, they knew what was going on. And they used some better judgment
Yep.
than they've been known to use recently.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And
yeah,
but it's a demonstration in use your brains, not your brawn. Okay. And we're not seeing enough of that. We're not seeing enough of the people going, oh, look, there's the MAGA idiot spouting off stuff. Let's not talk to that person. Let's not engage that person. It's it's just not helping.
yeah. It's tough. It's tough. But
It's tough because some of the stuff they say is hurtful. It hurts your feelings, but the law doesn't really care too much about your feelings. You Depending on what materials being presented and in context and so on. But if somebody says, "I think all opposite gender people are dumb," that might hurt your feeling, but they're legally allowed to say it.
yep.
Yeah. They're not saying something that incites a riot or
We
a
hope.
mass mob.
We
Hopefully,
hope.
we hope. Um, so going into, we've talked about it before on the show. Going out there and yelling "bomb" is a bad thing. That is punishable by law.
Unless there actually is a bomb.
True, and hopefully everybody's uh, safe from that warning. And uh, but the thing is that if you do it just to get attention,
Yeah.
yeah. So going out there and screaming racial epithets or racial slurs, that actually can get you punished by the law because it can incite riots, it can incite violence in that respect.
Not like we haven't seen that happen before.
Exactly. But saying that, oh, your president's dumb, my president's better, they're legally allowed to do that.
Yep. Everybody's
Whether we like
allowed
it
to
or
be
not.
as dumb as they can be.
Mhm. And the best thing you can do is not engage. And if you must engage, please do it at a very intellectual level.
Yep. Which is
Don't
exactly
kick
the
him
way
in the
that I used to
crotch.
do it. I haven't been doing that kind of stuff in quite a while. I've realized, basically because I think my feeds have been pretty well curated where I don't have to be dealing with that anymore. That I feel that there's a necessary point to be made. Then again, it kind of makes it a little bit harder on me because I don't have Heretic Woman in my corner to go ahead and say, okay, he's done good. Now let's get down to the actual bullshit.
Just as a side note, because this just came across my desk, so to speak.
Yeah, and we'll make this the last. Go ahead.
I didn't realize it, but Daniel Dennett died a day and a half ago.
Yep. Yep.
We got to do an episode on that.
Maybe, but the problem is, I don't think that I know him well enough to
That's
talk
fair.
on it.
Okay. I'm gonna miss that man. I enjoyed watching a lot of his talks.
There's going to be a lot of folks like that. Yeah, we do have to see about closing up shop. So, you got anything that you want to close with? It's under 8 minutes long.
Do more good than harm. If you must harm, do as little as possible. And be excellent to each other.
That's good stuff.
How's that for late night philosophy?
That works. For me to close it all up with all this, what I started off mentioning about how much I admire these interviewers who are so well versed in topics with great recall to just be able to say, well, okay, you're starting us at this point. Okay, well, then there's this problem that happened afterwards, and then this problem, and then this problem, and then this problem. These people, like I said, they are mental athletes. They are not, quote unquote, like you and I. They are not, quote unquote, normal people. And I say that not in a disparaging way. They worked hard to be where they are, to be able to do what they do. The same way that you'd expect that an Olympic athlete has trained a lot to be able to get where they are, to do what they can do, what a concert musician would do in order to get where they are. Just because we can't be that level doesn't mean that we can't strive to be as good as we would like to be, and to recognize our shortcomings when we are not anywhere close to. So if there is a time and a place where you find that you're going to be getting into a discussion that you realize, and it's a tough thing to do, realize you just don't know the topic well enough, there is no shame in backing off and going, you know what? I don't know this topic well enough. I shouldn't be talking on it. That is a sign of maturity and a sign that you actually care about the topic more than you do your own self-image. And if somebody's got a problem with your self-image because you find it correct and honest to say, I don't know well enough, so I'm not gonna, then they're not worth talking to anyway. And I think that's good enough for me for tonight, because I'm starting to drag myself. So folks, we'll go ahead, we'll call it a night right there. Thank you very much for being with us tonight, of course, as always. Hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspective, and you got something to think about for the week ahead, at least for this week ahead. Over the chat, because I have not been greeting you guys at this point the way that I'm supposed to. Io, thank you very much, and I very much look forward to seeing what you dropped over into the show notes for me to drop in. Thank you for your twiddling your fingers the way that you do. I appreciate it. And Stephanie, yeah, saying that Daniel Dennett led a good and productive life. I don't know about anybody else, but I sincerely hope that that at least could be said for me. Unrenewed Tech, glad you're able to make it, and you made it to the end, and you're still conscious and awake at this point. Thank you so much. Don't screw with me now. Glad you're able to make
They'll
it, man.
never let me live that down. Don't worry about it.
Nope.
It's all good.
But you have yourself a good week, man. You take care of yourself, huh?
Yeah, you too, man.
And even though she's not here at this point, Bridget, glad you're able to make it for a little while. You take care of yourself, of course. And folks, we'll be looking forward to talking again next week. Like I said, next month, about a month from now, I'm very likely going to end up taking one of those weeks off because, you know, yeah. And sideways to that, since I just thought about it, traditionally, for several years, I would hold a fundraiser radio stream the weekend closest to her passing, which is that's Memorial Day weekend, if I remember right. The weekend's around the 22nd of May. Pretty sure that's what it is. So it's usually like it was usually like a 3-day weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. But that was when I would do my long shows. I eventually was doing a 36-hour radio stream marathon fundraiser out of Second Life. But it was on the tail end, if you pardon the expression, of the normal 3-hour Friday night show. So come in, we do the 3-hour show, and then 36 hours on top of that for the fundraiser, which was at the tail end of a full Friday work day for me. So I would do my usual Friday, and then starting at 9:30 local time, PM, I'd start. And wouldn't get done until 12:30 p.m., meaning just 30 minutes after noon, on Sunday. And then go to sleep really hard. I haven't done that in a long time. And I still kind of feel a little bit guilty about it. But you know what? I put in my time, and I did good. As much as I try not to be guilty about it, still will be, but at least I know I did good. You don't
And
have
of course, don't forget the magical revitalization showers too.
Yeah.
I've queued up 15 minutes of music. I'm gonna go take a cold shower.
Yeah. The fact that I did it without falling asleep many times.
I listened, man. I was there.
Yep. Yeah. It was not easy, but anytime anybody goes ahead and says, "Hey, we're doing this marathon in 24 hours," I can go ahead and I can say, "Yeah, I did a little bit more."
And the thing was, I absolutely loved those shows. Between the Jack Benny, the cartoon splits, and everything else, there were some years where I couldn't stay up for the whole thing.
Well, I wouldn't
Couldn't
expect you
make
to.
it. Well, there were many times where I actually made it through the 36 hours without sleep. But there were some where I couldn't, and so what I do is I'd have my phone load one of the apps to have it playing. I'd stick the phone under my pillow with the volume up and have it literally fall asleep while you were still doing the radio stuff. I'd wake up, I'd still hear you going. I'd be like, "Hey man, how you doing?"
Yep. If there's something that you want to do because you think that you can, go for it. You don't have to do it forever. And
Yeah,
if
like
it helps,
skydiving without a parachute.
and if it helps to reduce world suck, even just a little bit, it's worthwhile.
Agreed.
So, with that, Bridget already did her fuck you earlier, and normally I have one extra one. I will go ahead and I will do for Io then. We agree. We all on this show agree. Fuck cancer. We'll leave it there.
Amen, brother.
If you'd like to be in touch with us, of course, please take a swing over to the website, holycrapthevlogcast.com. Check us out over on Discord because, well, you know, if you need a voice, that's where you can find us. All our contact information is over on the website, including the link for the audio version of the podcast. And I did renew the voice phone line one more time. I know I keep saying, yeah, I probably won't do it. I always feel we've had it for so long, you know, whatever. It means I'm going to have to change out information so we don't have it anymore. Phone number, of course, 859-HCTV-554, 859-4288-554. Otherwise, please just take care of yourselves and be safe. We look forward to talking to you again next week. So until that next time, as always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And like I said, it's almost 19 years later. And I am still in love. Mwah. Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we're together, everyone, as always, good night.